Coming up with a strategy. How did it go now? Yes? No? Yes. All right, so we got still some pretty negatives, but better. All right, let's talk about it. Let's actually solve it together. So we're saying const, I'm going to say merge sorted arrays, because that's what we're doing. It's going to take in an array 1 and array 2. And so what's the first thing we need from this? Ever feed?
We need to make a third array that kind of adds in all the arrays.
Sounds good. So I'm going to call that output, right? And this is going to be the output of this problem. So it's going to be what I have at the very end. And then what's next? We need a while loop. And we said we wanted this while loop to continue as long as both of them still have elements in there. So we'll say, okay, while array1.length. I don't need to say equal to 1 because 1 is truthy, 0 is falsy, so I can just let it run. And array2.length. Yours is fine. You're just doing it different. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, yours is great. Okay. Right, there's more than one way to skin the cat, yeah? Okay. So then what's the first check we need to do? What do we care about? Marvin? Right, we care about which element is smaller for the two arrays. Which one has the first character smaller? So I'll say, hey, if array 1 at 0 at the index is less than array 2, whoops, array 2 at 0 at the index, what do we want to do? Right, I'm going to go ahead and say output dot push, and I'm going to push the smaller element. So I'm going to say array1 dot shift, because this will give us the return value. Else, what do we want to do?
Output that push array 2.
Yep. So, not bad. This to me has like a little bit of duplicate code, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just shorten this and say output dot push, and I'm going to just go ahead and take this line and just turn this into a little ternary. Right? This is the same code as these 5 lines. Right, we're just going to push whatever comes back from this. Anything else we need to do in this while loop? Not really, right? So at the end of this, we have to return our output. And let's go ahead and run this. So we'll say console.log merge sorted arrays, and we'll pass in our array 1 and array 2, which we declared earlier. Okay, and so we're getting there, but we're missing elements, right? So this is where a lot of people got and struggled. Yeah?
So in order to get the last two elements, I change my
To and to or. And did that work? Interesting. So he says we can make this or. And it works. Cool. Because it becomes undefined, I guess. If you didn't do this, which is pretty slick that works, I thought it might throw an error. Nice find, Brutus. Right, we can also just return what's left with concat. Because we know we don't care which one we concat if we concat them both, because one is just empty and the other one has bigger elements than everything else that's currently in the array. So this would also work. Fair? All right, any questions on that? Okay. So if I ask this again like tomorrow, will we get it? All right, cool, because I probably will. Okay, so write a function that takes in a number and determines if the number is prime. How do we do on that one? Yay, nay, okay. So what makes what's the overall approach for this? It's a condition of some sort. Tell me a bit more. Henry, you can tell me more about that. No? All right. And most functions are going to have some kind of condition. I totally agree. So I'm not going to let you out that easy. If you just, I appreciate the participation, but you got to back up your answer, right? Don't worry. Marvin.
Well, the number can only be divided by 1 itself, right? So wouldn't the condition be like if num modulo 1 is equal to 0 or num modulo num equals 0?
Maybe. So we know that every number to modulo 1 equals 0. So we don't really need to test that. Jay?
Is it like to count to keep track of how many times it can be divided by?
Okay, we could do something like that. Isaiah?
Find the factors and then check if the factors are only two factors.
Okay, we could find the factors and check to see if it's only 2. Jay?
I would just try using 2, with modulo 2, because if it's only divisible by 1 in itself, if it's at all divisible by 2, then it would be wrong unless it's 2.
But then you have a number like 15 that is
Yeah, I think you're checking more for evens. I think the general sense I'm getting from the room is that we're actually kind of overthinking this. Right? So the first prime number is what? Okay, and so any number less than 2 is false, right? So we can say const is prime, takes in a num, and we can just right off the bat say, hey, if the number is less than 2, return false. Right? I'm doing this on one line, that's why I'm not using curly braces. This is a common syntax you'll see. Just throwing in a slightly new syntax. It's a one-liner. Otherwise, we could check for factors, right? Which is really checking from the number 2 all the way up until that number, yes? But not including that number. Well, actually, like, if we were checking the number 8, would we ever want to get to 6 or 7 or 5? No, because none of those numbers will matter. Because a number can only be divisible by something half its size or less, right? So I'm going to go ahead and write a for loop. I'll say let I. Where's a good spot for I to start? 2, right. So while I is less than our number, what happened there? So while I is less than our number, we can increment our I by 1. And then what do we want to check for?
If the number is divisible by I.
Yeah, so if num modulo I is equal to 0, what do we know? Then it's false, right? That's not a prime number. Also, I didn't follow through with what I had said, where we can say math.floor num divided by 2. slight performance improvement. And so if we iterated all the way up to that number and we never found a factor, what can we assume? What's safe to assume? That it is in fact a prime, right? Does that make sense? Right, so we're gonna check if this number is less than 2. If it is, then we already know it's not a prime. Otherwise, we'll set I equal to 2 and go all the way up to number divided by 2. And if it is divisible by I, then we can return false and break out of that for loop. Otherwise, if we make it all the way through the for loop, it's safe to assume that it is in fact a prime. So let's check this. Console.log, we can say is prime, and we can pass in 2. This should return true. That's a good test. Let's put in a 4. This should return. Oh, okay. Uh-oh. So 4 returned true. That's a mistake, right? So what's wrong with our logic?
Oh, great. So you don't have to do the math out for number divided by 2 because math out
I just, yeah, sure. Does this make? I don't think that's making a difference.
It's checking if I is less than num divided by 2 and num is 4.
Right.
2 isn't less than 2.
That's right. So we could add an extra if and say if it's 2 to return true. If num is equal to 2, just return true. And then we could go back to what we had. Oh, it's still doing it.
Yeah,
If you did
Now I should do
less
it.
than or equal to, then it works.
yeah.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Less than or equal to. No, we can't do equal to.
Or doing the divided by 2.
Can we do equal to? Yeah, I guess we can do equal to. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it's checking only the halfway point.
Yeah, that's right. Whoops. Nice catch, everybody. Yeah, let's do a couple at once. So it should be true, false, true. Okay, so it looks like it's working now. So we just had to iron that out with the equal to. No big deal. Questions on that? Yeah.
Or divided by 2 for now.
Oh, so that is just to make it a little bit more time efficient. So, like if we're checking the number 53, which I think is prime, as soon as we've hit 26, which is 52, or 27, right? We know that any number above 27 will not divide into 53. Because the smallest, or the biggest number that a number can be divided by is whatever it is divided by 2. Right? Like the biggest number that can go into 100 is going to be 50. Because 51 is times 2 is too big already. So we can use a little math to our advantage. Secret math lesson. Right? Math hidden in the code. Baba Booey. Okay. So, and how do we do on this third one? Yes, no. If we didn't get is prime, we definitely didn't get this one, right? Because this is the one, this is going to help us. So let's go ahead and just flow through it. We'll say const, we'll call this prime array. It's going to take in a number. So this is the number of primes that we want, right? So we can just go ahead and make an output because we're going to need an array back. So if we're going to need an array, we might as well make our array. And then what should we look at next? What do we need to do? What's like the overall approach? We have to check if the number is prime. Which number? This number?
Yeah.
I don't know, because we're filling up an array of primes. So if this number is like 4, it just means we want 2, 3, 5, 7. Okay. So I don't think we care if that number's a prime. Doug?
We want to do the starting from
Yeah, so we got to make some kind of loop.
all the way to the
Yeah, and we could, what kind of loop should we use, you think?
as a for loop, and then set it to terminate after you reach a length that is equal to
Set at the terminator. Yeah, I like that. Personally, I'm going to use a while loop. I think that this feels like it reads more like English. If I say like, hey, while output dot length is less than num. So while this is less than num, I'm going to keep incrementing the size of the output. So I'm going to go ahead and start an I count, let I equal to 2. And then I'll just say if is prime of I, then I can just push that in my output. Oops. For what? No, this is a function. This is the argument that it's passing in. And then I'm just going to keep incrementing I. This is called prime array, yeah. And then at the very end, we got to return our output. And hopefully this will work. I have not tested it yet, so we shall see. Prime array, if we want 5 elements, let's say. Yeah, those look prime to me. So let's just go over the logic again. All right, we definitely could do this with a for loop as well. The reason I choose to do it as a while loop is because I think the code reads a little bit more like English, the same way I would personally think about it if I was explaining it to someone. That's the way I would do it. So that's why I'm using a while. Because I would say, hey, I'm going to start with this number at 2 because I know that's my first prime. And I'm going to say, hey, while my output's length is less than the number that they've requested, I'm going to check if that I is a prime number. If it is, I'm going to add it to output. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep incrementing I until that condition breaks. Yep.
I mean, at least you just write it as a grade, but is there a difference between the rate, like brackets, and just the parentheses in this case?
Where are we talking about?
If it's prime, parenthesis I.
Yes, is prime is a function. Yeah, so all the parentheses are invoking functions here. Square brackets are for indexing into like arrays and objects. No problem. Any other questions? Right, so if these were hard, go home tonight, write them 10 times, right? It's really about repetition. I know. Yeah, it is. Okay, so now that we're done with the warm-up, let's talk about the exam. Everybody in this room's already taken the exam, yeah? So what did we find surprising about the exam? Let's have like a little class discussion, yeah? Was there anything surprising about it? No. Yeah, anything surprising? Oh, hey there.
I was gonna say it was fair.
It was fair. Okay. Do we feel that it was a fair test?
Yeah.
All right, so that's good. That's unanimous. So if it was a fair test, then like we can do it, right? So our scores as a class were all over the place. Just a little bit more about how I graded them, because hopefully by now you've all seen that I did grade the tests till like 11:30 last night, all day. But that's okay. And so the way it was graded was that every problem was worth 5 points. Every problem was worth up to 5 points. You were guaranteed at least 1 point per problem, and then 3 points if your code was working. So if you had 1 point, it was just because I had to give it to you. 2 points was that it's you're making progress toward a working solution. 3 was a working solution. 4 was creating your own code style and getting closer. And 5 was like great, perfectly clean code. Okay, so that's why some of you may have passed every spec, but you still might not have gotten a perfect score. The average was 25.94, so about 26. So that's the average score. Right? And so we were like a little bit all over the place. We have 20. So we had 19 above that average, and then a fair amount under the average. Had some perfects, had some imperfects, and that's pretty much like the overarching of it, right? If that exam was hard, it's probably need a lot more practice, right? So if you really had our time, like come meet with the team at some point, right? We want to like talk with you and like figure out the best study plan moving forward. Because there's different approaches to studying and planning, and some are more effective than others, especially with certain people, right? Like a lot of people love to watch video. I personally do not think that's an effective way to study. I think you want to actually be coding, looking, coding, comparing, erasing when you're done, doing it again, erasing it, doing it again, coming back tomorrow, starting again, fresh, trying to not, right? It's like really a repetitive thing. It's just like learning to play an instrument. Like the first time you play a song, it sucks, right? I played guitar. I remember like learning. I was like, this doesn't sound like Brown Eyed Girl at all. But like by the 1,000th time, it's like that's pretty good. I'm going to try playing this to my girlfriend, and she stayed with me even after. So, right, you do get better at it. Okay, so that's any outstanding questions about the exam? No? All right, so let's like shake it off for like 5 minutes. So be back by 8:25, and then we're just going to go over the exam pretty quick. Oh, and then we're going to have a typing test, and then we're going to go over the exam. Thank you, John. Done. This is closer.
Good shot.
Oh, I should play some music. I'm so sorry. I'm Corey. Oh, this is Coding Cat. Yeah, we know Cody. Push this?
Almost heaven, West
Oh, I
Virginia.